I would love to welcome you to today's free online training called 4 Keys Every Data Practitioner Needs to Confidently Present Insights and Inspire Action. But there's a little bit of a twist here that I didn't include. It is without putting your audience to sleep. That's going to be the key here. Okay. I do have a special offer for you waiting at the end of this webinar. You are going to be learning some great stuff for free, but I would really appreciate it if you would stick around to the end, because that's one of the main reasons that we're here. So stay tuned for that. So I want to kick this off with a piece of data. I know, kind of crazy for a data storytelling webinar, but I want you to think about a stat that really made my jaw drop a few years ago when I heard it. I read that Forrester predicted in 2019 that 25% of new hires and promotions would begin to require data storytelling skills. Really let that sink in for a minute. 1/4 of new hires and promotions would require the unique combination of skills, of hard and soft, of understanding how to communicate information in a compelling way. Now, there are a lot of different resources out there that can kind of tell you, give you these very abstract ways of like, well, this is what, data storytelling means. But what I found was that it could be really overwhelming to figure out just a really concrete process for doing that every single time that would guarantee that you get the results that you want, which is inspiring action, right? So my main 2 goals for this training are to show you, goal number 1 is to show you several strategies that are going to help you become indispensable. And that the way to become indispensable to your organizations and your clients is through keeping your audience engaged and excited to take action with your insights. And they're not as hard as you think. And of course, my second secret goal, not so secret now, is that the best way to present these compelling insights is through what I have waiting for you at the end, which is my data presentation and storytelling bootcamp. But before that, you're going to get lots of fun tricks that you can use. And I feel it would be best to kind of take a trip down memory lane and explain that it may look this way, but I didn't get to this position speaking to you overnight. I took what I call the long road, the extra, extra long road. So not sure if many of you know this, but I spent 12 years in the workforce as a digital and SEO internet marketing specialist and analyst. And what I loved about this role, which many of you might resonate with, is that you finally got to look at all of these different aspects of online marketing all in one place. And when I fell into analytics, oh my gosh, I was like happily crunching my numbers all day, pivoting search data and calculating fields in Tableau, and it was heaven. But what wasn't heaven was when I was one day asked to go into a room full of very important looking people named stakeholders and convince them that what I was doing for my job mattered and that they should take action on it. So what I would basically do is dive into my entire sink of random metrics, and I would just vomit them onto a bunch of slides, one after the other. I love this slide. It's courtesy of my friend Tim Wilson, who you might know. And that's what I would do. And then suddenly I would take a look around the room and I'd somehow be surprised that I didn't exactly have their undivided attention. Shocking, and it shouldn't have been that shocking because I wasn't realizing what I was doing wrong. But what I did realize was that I was leaving that room not exactly sure that my insights had the impact that I was hoping for. And I would watch time after time, week after month, all of my insights fly into what I call the dreaded data black hole. Yep. Yep, Chauncey. She's seen this one before, so she's got me. So I'd like to hear in the chat, does the data black hole sound familiar to anyone here? Does that resonate for anybody, that it just vanishes and you're not exactly sure what's going to happen, if anything? And I'll let you guys respond. So For me, this was a very real issue. It sounded funny at the time to tell this story, but the real issue is that there is a very serious affliction going around in our conference rooms and our meetings, and it's global. I call it presentation zombification. It is when you have transformed your audience members from normal functioning humans into drooling, glassy-eyed zombies who ask challenging questions or scratch their heads, or they're nodding off instead of nodding in agreement with you. Yes, so I can see the folks here definitely resonate. And I have to tell you, it's not just scary if you're in the room presenting, which it's terrifying, but this affliction is actually quite expensive. I'm not sure how many people know this, but nearly $500 billion every year is estimated to be wasted in ineffective business meetings in just the US and the UK. That is bananas, guys. Okay, so what is happening? So I decided one day, about 10 years ago now, that I was tired of the black hole. So I decided to go on a very deep philosophical journey and find answers to this very, big metaphysical question. Why do bad things happen to good data? It's perfectly sound data. It's statistically significant. I checked it 3 times. What is happening? Scott seems to know the answer. Show me an analyst's PowerPoint deck and I'll show you where insights go to die. That's really funny. And true. So, I started the day that I started finding answers to this question was the day that it all changed. And it was all thanks to a little presentation tool called Prezi, which you might have heard of. So when I started using Prezi on a lark one day 10 years ago, I was like, wow, this thing is cool. Sure. Okay. And then I see this like infinitely scrolling canvas and these circles and panning and zooming movements. And I was like, what the hell is this thing? I had no idea how to figure out how to actually implement what I had done all the times before in presentations. And Dee, sorry to hear about the sound. Please, anyone else, let me know. Sometimes I will say restarting the classroom, this classroom room, can actually help with sound issues, just in case. Okay, so yeah, I was like, I didn't understand how to possibly proceed. And that's when I realized I may not know how to present information. And I decided to read a little book called Presentation Zen by Gar Reynolds, and everything changed. I suddenly had the answer to that metaphysical question, which was to introduce you to your audience's brain. Hello, brain. So guess what? That collection of neurons and synapses and glial cells all bundle up to form your best friend or your worst enemy during your presentations. And knowing what makes it tick is what's going to get you to win with your stakeholders. And what I realized after I learned all of this stuff, that what I was doing was I was creating the definition of insanity. Drop in the chat if anyone knows how the rest of this quote goes, which was, the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting what? Different results. That is not by Albert Einstein, by the way. But that's what I was doing. I was going in the room time after time with the same lack of planning, with the same messy slides, with the same confusing charts, and lots of nerves and no confidence. And I was expecting something different to happen. So I decided to take matters into my own hands. I did a little light reading. This is actually maybe like a third of the books that I read, but just a little light reading to really understand the mechanics of how to get people to care about numbers. And I started implementing that into my readouts and my QBRs and meetings, and things began to happen. I realized I was starting to create a path to transformation to my audience, okay, for my audience, so that they could win and achieve their big, hairy goals. That's what we're here for. So what was the result of this? Years of diving into all of this? Well, I couldn't actually believe the results, but I'll share them with you. First, I stopped turning boardrooms into board rooms. I love that one so much. But seriously, my rooms started becoming more active and engaged, and I was inspiring really lively conversations that were productive and ended up in people taking action afterwards. And as a result of one particular presentation that I did, I was able to reactivate a department-wide search optimization task force with my numbers that people had forgotten about because people forgot that our search function actually mattered. Then, in order to measure that project, I got increased budget for improved analytical capabilities that I had been fighting for years. And then over the years from that, as I started to build a reputation as a subject matter expert within my organization, I started getting approvals for more headcount. I got 2 promotions in a very short period of time. And I'm sure this one can feel really close to home right now, either for ourselves or for someone else. But I survived several layoffs. In certain cases, I was the last person standing because through presenting information in a compelling way, I was constantly creating value for my audience and for my stakeholders. This started to become bigger than me. I started getting invited to present at industry conferences and online events, and I was preparing to stop the insight insanity for the entire industry and start an insight revolution and get people to care about how they were creating their audience's paths to transformation. And through, I don't know, sheer wonderful luck or just really hard persistence, I was able to turn that into an actual entrepreneurship and teaching career where I train people online, I speak online, I do online courses, and a podcast, which you may or may not be familiar with, called the Present Beyond Measure Show. So that is my story. And it all started with trying to figure out how to close up the black hole. Now, I do want to give you a bit of a disclaimer. These results are not typical, but they are possible, obviously, because I have seen with the people that I've worked with, I've seen them to go on to not just become the most respected members of their teams, to not just renew client contracts, but to actually become industry professional speakers who are now in the upper echelons of our industry thought leadership. So they're not typical, but they are possible. Oh, guys, I love your love. Thanks so much, Liz and Jan. I appreciate that. And it means that this can be done, right? So I have found that there are 4 main myths standing in the way of people really achieving even close to the results that I just talked about. And the 4 myths I'm going to talk about, I'm going to give you 4 of those secret keys to help overcome that as you begin your journey or continue your journey as an awesome data communicator. So these might sound really familiar, and it's okay. They took me a long time to work through. First, myth number 1, stakeholders don't know what they want, and they definitely don't understand what I'm trying to say, right? They don't get it. Myth number 2, slide design doesn't really matter, and the more stuff on my slides, the better, right? I need fancy data viz platforms and splashy, exciting charts to deliver engaging data stories. Ooh, right. That's a big one. And then finally, well, I'm not a naturally good speaker, so I'll never feel confident enough to win with my audience. That's probably my favorite one to help you blow up. So let's get started with the first myth, and I'm loving your guys' conversation, and that's correct, Janum. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing. My podcast is actually on Spotify. All right, so let's start with myth number 1. Stakeholders don't know what they want, and they don't understand what I'm trying to say. One of the reasons this is a myth is they do know what they want, but they don't know how to articulate to you what they need or what they want in data language. They only know what they want in terms of the context of their own objectives and goals. Now, here is what is going on in their brains, in case you're wondering. I have found that most stakeholders are like, hey, love your stuff, but I've got a lot on my mind. I definitely can't listen to how long this analysis took you or how many steps it was or how hard it was. That's not what they want to hear, okay? This is what I do want to hear. I want you to show me how to move my business forward in a way that I understand quickly and easily. And here's the kicker, in a way that makes me want to act. When I finally understood this, I had an aha moment. I needed to meet their needs by speaking their language and connecting that to my data. And the other thing I realized was that I was just focusing on too much. I had never learned how to focus upon one core message that spoke directly to their needs. I was just listening to the words that were coming out of their mouth, like, can you present some campaign results? And that's basically stakeholder speak for, I don't know how to articulate to you exactly what I need from you because I'm not close to the data and I'm not supposed to be. So this is where you can start to play their therapist a little bit. Get in their head and try to understand, what do I actually need right now? What do I need to be successful, recognized, on track, not overwhelmed? What do they need? And how can your data answer that for them? What's top of my mind? What are my biggest, hairiest goals right now? What quotas do I need to meet for this month or this quarter? What's the biggest project that I have on my mind? If you don't know these things when you're working with your stakeholders, you are missing a potential opportunity to connect your data to their needs. That's what I'm trying to say. Yes, and Jan and John, I need a dashboard, I need KPIs. It's not what they need. They need data in the language of what their goals are. That's the best way I can put it. And maybe not so fun stuff. What's keeping me up at night? What are the biggest challenges that I have? Like, what's the bear on my back that's like keeping this website from relaunching, or we can't get this campaign live, or we're having all these technical issues? What are those challenges that your data and expertise can help them overcome? And ultimately, what you want to frame their needs, your stakeholder needs in, is understanding, well, when are we going to check in and see if something needs to be changed? And that way, you're going to be able to speak your stakeholder need language and help them understand what you're trying to say. Now, the next piece, that the issue here is that we tend to throw too much at them. And when we throw too much, we overwhelm their brains and they can't focus on anything. So I want you to sit and ask yourself for a second. It's kind of a funny question. What is my data story's BuzzFeed headline? So very often we go into give it a second if it's freezing. It's sometimes it takes a second. And once again, have the link handy just in case you can come back in. So thanks for your patience, guys. A lot of internet traffic today. So what is my BuzzFeed story, data story's BuzzFeed headline? A lot of times you go into a meeting or you get a request to come to a meeting and the title is something like campaign overview or review report, or my personal favorite, one of my students actually got an invite just called data. That's it. And as a result, no one had a clue what that was about or what the main headline was. Does anyone want to go to a meeting called data or campaign overview? Let me know in the chat. Would you want to go to a movie that's called that? A meeting that's called that? I wouldn't. I'd want to go to a meeting where it's very clear what that meeting is about and has some kind of appealing headline to it that draws me in. So BuzzFeed is excellent and scientifically proven to be irresistible to people. And I found a way to help you create a sort of BuzzFeed headline for your presentation, and it's going to help you keep your presentation focused and on track. I love this tool so much. You're going to love it too. And it's sourced directly from, I don't know, this up and coming kind of small speaker bureau thing. I'm just kidding. It's from TED. So TED is obviously known for the most world-renowned speakers and most thought-provoking talks in the world. And what not a lot of people know about TED Talks is that all of them have to have this one thing. I bet you'd love to know what it is right now. Okay, I'll tell you because you're joined. It's called the through line. And that is known as the connecting theme that ties together each narrative element of a presentation. In other words, your presentation summarized in a single sentence. Now that might be kind of like brain scrambling for a second, like, wait, I have like 50 different metrics I have to show people during my meetings. That's actually the problem. We're showing too much, and this is a cultural thing because people do ask for too much. But once you find a connecting theme to encompass your entire presentation, you'll be amazed how focused and energized and engaged your audience can stay. So I developed a formula for a compelling through line that's really ideal for, especially for analytics presentations, but it can be used pretty much for any kind of presentation. So here's the formula. It's what you're presenting about. Then you hint at what you found. So agitating some kind of conflict or issue that you want to be resolved. And then hinting at that solution. And that's it. And you don't have to make this the name of your presentation in an invite, but you want to contextualize what you're talking about, so that's clear, giving them a sneak peek, and then that you have a solution on the way. So I have some examples from past presentations that I'd love for you to get, that I'd love to give you. And I'd like for you to start thinking about how you could use this in some of your presentations. So first, our Q3 is Praveen. There will be a replay available for 1 week after today. Thanks for asking. Next, our search marketing program efficiency declined during May, and we found 3 reasons for why this may have happened and what to do about it. So everyone's terrified of giving bad news, right? Well, in my book, there is no such thing as bad news. There's just opportunities for improvement. As my favorite coach says, you're either winning or you're learning. And this is a great formula for quickly following up that something didn't go as planned, but you already have ideas why, and you have a solution on the way. It's baller, believe me. Finally, maybe you're not showing data, but you want to get people excited about a new platform or a project. We'll show you how the capabilities of our new email marketing platform could dramatically increase our engagement rates. I would be interested in sticking around for meetings that had through lines like that. And that becomes sort of like a rope that you hook all your ideas onto. So when you're creating your presentations, you ask yourself, does this idea support that theme? If it doesn't, don't put it in the appendix and keep it focused. And I am telling you, having a clear through line like this has transformed thousands of my students' presentations for sure. So I'd love to hear what you think about that particular strategy. And what I want to say is the truth is this: focusing upon a core message is just one of the many keys to keeping your stakeholders awake and engaged. And you can learn them. They are not hard. And that's just one of many. Okay, little quick drink. Rocking and rolling. Okay, myth number 2. Slide design doesn't really matter. And the more stuff on my slides, the better. Yeah. So I've actually heard people say these things, and I can't wait to debunk them. I just can't wait. So, one of my formative presentation experiences a long time ago, before I realized what I was doing, I had an internship boss who said, "Hey, how would you like to present some findings to our client?" And I was an intern and I was like, "Oh my God, this is terrifying, but okay." So what I did is I did what many of us do, and I put everything I possibly could onto one particular slide. And then I creatively animated in, like had every letter drop in, and I had like laser beaming titles and graphics going into these beautifully full and voluptuous slides. And the interesting part of how that went was at the end of it, he said, hey, that was good, but can you just not make me so dizzy and confused? Oh my God, I was so embarrassed. I thought that by using all of the features of PowerPoint that it made available, that I would knock their socks off. But unfortunately, I sort of just completely knocked their attention off. And guys, I'm so sorry to hear if you're having trouble. I will make sure you get that replay. And yes, Ingrid, I wish this were a made-up story. It's really not. It really happened. And, I wanted to claim that I'm a victim of what everyone loves to call, which is death by PowerPoint. It's PowerPoint's fault. It's not my fault. And okay, so PowerPoint doesn't put a lot of controls in place to help stop us with that. But here was my aha moment with that. This was not a PowerPoint problem, okay, or Google Slides or Prezi or Keynote. This was a people problem. It was my problem. I needed more control to help me enforce design best practices so I would not run amok with my audience's brains. And I found out that there were two things missing from my design toolbox in this exploration. And these two things are going to be two of the most valuable tools in yours. They are simplicity and intention. Simplicity meaning only including what you need and nothing more. It's including enough to be clear, but not more than that. And intention is making specific conscious design decisions that were made to help communicate information, not to make things splashy or exciting or snazzy, which are words that I've all heard requested by my clients in asking for information. So I'm so glad to hear that this is resonating. So one of the most important philosophies that I heard during this exploration, and it made me change how I thought about this process entirely, was to learn to create ideas, not slides. Just think about that for a second. So an idea can be one of your insights. It can be a test question, or it can be a question that you have for your audience or a big statement. But the whole point is that you aren't using more than one slide. Sorry, you aren't communicating more than one idea on one slide. Okay, one slide, one idea. In fact, you actually may want to try using more than one slide like this, ... anticipation, to communicate just one idea. Splitting slides when you're talking about ideas is a great way to keep your audience's anticipation live. Now, what this may mean is we love our bullet points, right? I love them so much. Not so much here, though. What that may mean is taking one heavily bulleted slide or lots of stuff on it and blowing it up into a collection of smaller digestible ideas on each slide. And that allows your audience's brain to take in information at a pace that it can understand. That is the key to keeping them awake during our presentations. Now, what I realized in this journey was this was a really hard thing to do. I still see many slides that are very packed in. So what I thought I would do is I would give you a technique that has really helped me sometimes if I'm really rushed and I can't figure out how to make my slide less busy, or I have like a really complex chart that I'm showing for the first time and I don't want my audience to get lost. So I created a technique called shape pacing. And it's using very simple shapes that you either can or can't see and animating them in a way that reveals information on your pace. So basically what you want to think about is every time you step your audience forward, you only want to reveal the information that supports whatever you just said. You don't want to show them everything ahead of that, and then they're off to the races. Okay, so here's what it looks like. And I've actually never presented this live before, so I would love for you to let me know that it makes sense. And thanks for your question, Ari. Make sure I'll answer that towards the end. Okay, shape pacing. So I had a really confusing chart I wanted to show my clients one time. It's called a dumbbell dot plot. It's an excellent chart type, and it has a learning curve. It's not familiar to people right away. So this is a great technique for pacing people to train them in a new chart type. So in this example, I had some voice of customer data, and someone asked me to look at what our customer's primary reason was for visiting the site today and whether they were able to accomplish their goal on the site today. So crossing two different variables, and then they wanted to know the customer satisfaction of each of those people. So I was like, whoa, that's a lot. So this chart type was perfect for that. So basically what you don't see here, and you'll understand in a moment, are a number of white boxes. And I'm going to reveal them out one by one. So over here, we have a list of the reasons why people visit our site today. Okay, just in no particular order yet. Now over here, we have these blue dots. These blue dots represent people who were able to accomplish their goal on the site. That's why they're in blue, they're happy. The numbers inside the circles represent their satisfaction score, and that is also represented by how far they are out on that line. Now, these circles in gray are the scores of people who did not accomplish their goal on the site today. And as you can see, we had a lot of issues between learning about public health issues. People who found what they were looking for really loved our site, but if they didn't find what they were looking for, they were not happy. So this was a way to help my audience understand this chart where if I showed the whole thing at once, their brain might have melted. What this looks like is more like this. So there are these white boxes that I have here covering up certain sections of each slide. Every time I'm ready to speak about the next section, I animate out that box. So it might be interesting to work with, and sometimes what I'll do is I'll create these borders that you see here so I can see where the shapes are, and then when I'm actually ready to present, I'll take away the borders and it looks blank. Another way you can look at this is if you have a really busy chart or slide and you don't have time to break it up, but you want to go through each section kind of like panels. So you might animate out a white box here. And now when I go to the next part, I'm animating out a white box, but I'm now animating in a semi-transparent box that shifts the audience's focus from the left to the right. That is a very important animation technique for attention. And then I'll do it again down here. Now we're looking at this part. I've directed your attention down and I've animated back in a semi-transparent box on the upper right. So this takes a little practice, but I am telling you, when you're pressed for time, or if you just are having trouble understanding how to break up very busy slides, this technique is an amazing way to keep from overwhelming your audience with too much information at once, and then they stop paying attention to you. The truth of this myth is that simpler and cleaner slides are easier for your audience to understand. More is not better. And honestly, you do not need a college design degree to create simple and clean slides. I suck at drawing and art, and I've learned how to do this. It is not hard. All right. Awesome. Love that you're loving this. Darren's loving it. That gap is gold, right? It was gold to my clients for sure. Liz says, this is fascinating. Tried some of your techniques. Wonderful. Chats, yes, there is going to be a recording. If someone could actually help me, if someone asks that question again, someone just drop in, there will be a replay so I can keep going. Thanks, guys. You guys are amazing right now. All right, we're doing good. Myth number 3. I need fancy data viz platforms and splashy, exciting charts to deliver engaging data stories. You actually don't. You know, when we think about data storytelling, oftentimes we think it's this something shiny wrapped under the Christmas tree, and we don't know exactly what it is, but we just got to have it. And I'm telling you, that's not exactly true. We don't need that. When we're looking at something like this, there's a lot on here, and I'm sure, you know, those upper charts were created in something fancy. But this is not a story. You don't need fancy data viz platforms to tell rich data stories. What you need is a methodology that walks people through simple neuroscientific storytelling mechanics and visual cues that point people like a roadmap to your insights and recommendations. I just happen to have a methodology lying around, which is called the Pica protocol, which you may or may not have heard of, but this is my prescription for healthy, actionable data stories that get you to win with your audience every time. Now, I want to give you a little bit of a sample of the 4th step in my methodology, which is A for aesthetics, Pica, get it? And this is a very important practice that not many of us have learned. Data viz aesthetics is all about cutting the clutter and embracing that simplicity. So charts often get a lot of stuff added to them that's not necessarily the best. So what I learned to do with my charts is I learned to detox. I love to detox every single day. I'm a crunchy granola hippie. Don't tell anybody. But I learned how to do that with my charts too, because before my detox, a lot of times my tools were adding a lot of unnecessary visual junk that was overloading my audience's brain. And they were looking at me with confusion and like asking me to go back, and everything was a mess. So after my detox, you can see how much clearer and cleaner and simpler this is. And I have a whole formula for how to do this, which includes removing a background, borders, legends, grid lines, axes, all unnecessary stuff, increasing the bar gap width, direct data labeling, and a more readable font and size. But the tool that I really want to show you that I'm most excited about is not the one that most people use at all correctly, and that is color. Color has an amazing impact on how people interpret and act on your information. It is one of the most potent visual cues. But when you're using color like this, this is a real dashboard. I'm not kidding. This is not an intentional use of color. Because there are so many colors here, none of them actually mean anything. And if they don't mean anything, then people can't pick out what the actual learning is. So what I love to do in my charts is I'll use a standout blue color to specifically hone in on my insights that I want to tell. That's the story I want to share. And I'll even take the title and I'll color to match my insight in the chart up to what is in the title. This is an incredibly powerful tool and so simple, especially if you're doing using PowerPoint or Excel to do presentation charts, which is my recommendation. This is incredibly simple, and now you can see how that insight leaps off, okay? The truth of this one, honestly, is that you can help your audience understand any chart or insight that you present just by using simple and intentional visual cues. Okay, so hope that color is gonna really knock their socks off. Okay, you guys are having so much fun. Camille, that colorblind question will be great for the Q&A, so remind me. Okay, we're up to our 4th myth, and I wanna keep flying through because I have extra stuff for you. I'm not a naturally good speaker, so I'll never feel confident enough to win with my audience. This is the biggest one that I want to blow up because I want to tell you something right here. This is the truth. There's nothing natural about a natural sounding speaker. Yes, some speakers have natural affinity, or you could call it talent, but you better believe that they are doing something that the rest of us are not doing that is setting them apart. And I'm going to tell you what that is. They're managing their nerves. And how are they managing their nerves? By going in there confident and cool and feeling like an expert. Well, the number one contributor to nerves is lack of preparation. I hear it all the time. I just don't feel ready. I don't know my stuff. Okay, well, that is something you can do something about. There's an old saying in the theater world you might be familiar with: practice, practice, practice. Make time for practice. And it often feels like we don't have time to practice, because when we walk into a conference room, we don't actually have to go in there having practiced. We have to go in with ourselves or our slides. But when we learn to make time for the things that matter to us, and we decided that practicing is a must, you must do it, then you're going to find a way to make time. And the way that I have found that to be possible is to make practice a habit. You do it every single time you present, and it becomes a habit. And I find that there's two great ways to create practice as a habit. I had to really chip away at this because I hated it at first. The first is to create a meeting on your calendar the day before showtime, the day before that meeting, and set that time to busy, so that that person in marketing doesn't schedule some nonsensical meeting over that. And you're like, oh, well, I guess I don't have time to practice. No, 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 no. This is a meeting that you're committing to and you're going to show up for, and you're going to run through all of your slides and speak through all of your thoughts at least one time. You do it 3 times and you're totally ninja. You can also invite a colleague to that meeting so that they can keep you accountable. Make sure you don't use that time to crunch numbers instead, and even provide feedback, which is a win-win. And you can also attach it to an existing habit or meeting. So let's say you always have coffee at 10 a.m. every single day. Well, if you know you're going to be presenting, then attach that meeting to your coffee, or make a daily effort to continue speaking and practicing that to a habit that is immovable, that you never change or cancel. And then you will start to find it become part of your process. Now, one of my absolute favorite ways of practicing is something I discovered by accident. It's recording yourself. I didn't know this until I did it, but all of the best speakers in the world record themselves, and they listen and they watch and they see what it's like to be an audience member. And this is so easy to do. You just use a voice memo or app on your phone, or you can take a video of you in the mirror. Even better if you're in front of someone. But there are amazing benefits to recording yourself. First, it counts as a practice round. Hey, now you're practicing. What's incredible when you do that is if you're listening to your recording, your brain will encode your talking points using your own voice. That is a scientific thing that actually happens. It's amazing. And then you start to learn and feel more confident with your material. You'll also observe your energy levels or lack thereof. I was completely comatose in my first recording, and I couldn't believe how much more excitable I had to sound alive. You'll also catch very distracting speech patterns. I discovered that I had 3 of the major speech patterns that afflict many people. Things like hyperspeed, talking way too fast, and then people can't understand what you're saying because you're so nervous because you want to get out of there. Yeah, you don't want to do that. The next are filler words. So like we looked at some data and the tests were like wrong, and I don't like know, what to do, so yeah, you want to reduce those. And my least favorite, uptalk, where you answer every statement, or you make a statement as if it's a question, and you end every sentence as a question. No bueno. These are actually research backed that they will undermine your credibility with an executive audience. So you definitely want to be mindful. But you don't have to do it alone. I love this little tip so much. There is this amazing little speaking coach app that you can have on your phone called Speako. So every day, my Speako apps prompts me with a little daily vocal warm-up, and it actually analyzes your speech patterns to see if you're doing a lot of those things. It is a fantastic way to stay on track, and if you attach that to a habit you're already doing, you'll be well on your way to identifying how to come across more articulately, more excitably, have more energy, and feel more confident. And I am not affiliated with Speako in any way. Tim Ferriss does practice on his dogs. I heard that as well. But yes, the only way to become aware of these patterns is to hear them. So the truth of this one is becoming a confident speaker only requires knowing preparation techniques and persistent practice. Okay, so now I would like to ask you a question. How are you feeling right now? I'd love to hear in the chat. You feeling excited? You feeling like jazzed? Like, wow, okay, these are a couple of things that I can try. I can use these right away. Or, oh man, I am so overwhelmed. I don't even know where to begin with all of this. And sometimes what I find is that overwhelm comes from trying to remember or think about doing everything at once. So what I'd love to hear in the chat right now is, what was the most useful thing that you learned in this today? And please don't go away yet, because I still have that special offer for you. But I'd love to hear what was the most useful thing. And we might go over time a bit when I review that, but hopefully if you can stick around, that'd be great. And don't forget that there will be a replay of this. Okay, Stefanos is great. Sarah's excited. Like first day of class. I love that. Inspired. Awesome. So I am so happy that you stuck around. So what I'd like to do is tell you exactly what I would love to offer to you today. It is called the Data Presentation and Storytelling Bootcamp. It is everything that I have learned, soup to nuts, for presenting compelling, memorable, and actionable data presentations, really geared towards live meetings, that will get you the credibility and recognition that you deserve. And I've just enabled the link to go check that offer out. And I'm going to go through each component with you right now. And let me just make sure I can bring the questions back so I see your questions about it. So here we go. So this is what the menu of the course is. It's 3-course menu, get it? So first is conceptualize. So you're looking at data presentation, ideation, planning, and brainstorming. This is going to be your secret sauce for developing a presentation in specific frameworks that are designed for persuasion, action. And it's a step-by-step process that's going to eliminate that headache of where to start with all this data and what data to include. You'll never wonder about that again. You're going to learn things like the stakeholder savvy quadrant, how to talk to different types of audiences in order to not lose anybody and win with everyone. How to create compelling recommendations using my SMART criteria so that people were willing to take action right after your meeting. How you're going to brainstorm your content, then how you're going to digitize your plan into actual slides. It is so comprehensive. This is the secret sauce for starting an amazing, memorable data presentation. Okay, next, and thanks for the shout out, Ian. That's a good quote. I'll take that one. Darren, this is definitely the right thing for you if that's what you're looking for. So next we have visualize slides, presentation slide design, animation, and productivity. This, you're going to learn the cutting edge trends that are not hard, but you're going to learn how to tap into typography and fonts, how to harness the power of real imagery, what to do and not do with imagery, things like using screenshots from tools and websites and apps, communicating your ideas with iconography, secrets of presentation productivity, because you don't want to be doing that thing until 11 o'clock the night before, and mastering the slide master in ways that you haven't seen that will save you hours of time. It is truly a slide design masterclass. The next, we have the Pica protocol in visualized data. So Again, the Pica protocol is fully laid out in this third course. You'll learn the anatomy of persuasion data visualization. You'll learn what to do with line graphs, the most common visualization violations. That one is super fun. And a starter guide for choosing the right chart for your message. So this 3-course bundle includes lifetime on-demand access to over 40 bite-sized video modules that you go at your own pace, and it's nothing too overwhelming. You don't have to sit in class for 2 to 3 days. It's at your pace. There are interactive exercises and quizzes. I've created capstone assignments and a final project, and you get a certificate of completion that you can print out, keep on your desk, and I'm working on getting it certified through LinkedIn as well. Finally, you will have lifetime access to all future content. I'm always adding new content in there. So you will get access from that for the one-time investment that you make today. I've been so humbled with some of the results I've gotten from some of my students. My friend Mike observed a huge improvement in how persuasive his insights were with audiences after the online training. He said, Leah has a comprehensive method of taking what the data gives, conceptualizing the story, maintaining attention, being memorable, design, and bringing it all together with the Pica protocol. And John, I love John's story so much. He is a digital analytics and SEO agency owner. He watched his client contracts get renewed when he was able to demonstrate how much value his agency provides. No more seeing your clients go because they don't know the value that you're bringing to the table. He said, thanks to Leah's course, I've been able to improve my retention and drive significant positive change in my clients' campaigns, which has helped them grow at a faster pace. So I'm going to pull out my little whiteboard here, and I'm going to draw out for you exactly what each component is that you would get if you invested. So first, the data presentation, 3-course bundle, conceptualize, visualize slides, and visualize data, which normally values for close to $3,000 on its own for what I charge for live. And one thing that comes up, I realized when I put this course together, one thing that comes up is people will say, but all of that's great, but again, I'm not a natural presenter, and that's what's holding me back. So for the first time ever, I've decided to include as a bonus my Deliver public speaking masterclass, which you got a little bit of a hint of with recording yourself. This masterclass is legit. You get professional preparation practices that I've learned from the best in the world and mindset exercises to knock down your limiting beliefs. My home office fortress blueprint for giving virtual presentations without losing your mind while the kids are around. My virtual Zoom meeting cheat sheet. I use it every single time to have killer Zooms. My disaster-proof technical checklist. And my meeting kickoff superhero script for starting meetings strong and keeping people's attention right away. You'll also learn how to navigate challenging questions and comments from the audience. It's very much about communication too. And I know you guys probably some have to jet in 2 minutes. If you don't have to go, I would love for you to stick around so I can answer some of those questions at the end. All right, so, and yes, Jan, you'll be the slide master when you're done with this, for sure. So in addition to the bundle, you also get the Deliver Public Speaking Masterclass as a bonus, and that takes it up above 3,000. Now, you'll also receive, because this is a very important part of the learning process, something called the Resource Vault. The Vault is my comprehensive collection of checklists, resources, reading lists, brainstorming prompts, interview guides, and more. I have created page after page of worksheets to help you complete the coursework, and they'll act as guides for you to create your presentations every single time. What you'll be able to do finally is save time, because you're not going to be sitting around wondering, how do I even get started, or how do I do this next part? And you're going to get rid of that overwhelm of just not knowing what is the next best thing to do. So again, back to the whiteboard, we have the bundle, the masterclass, and the vault. We're up to almost 3,400 in value. And I want you to think about, as you're thinking about this, what would you pay for extended client contracts, for scoring the highest bonus, for extra job security right now with, geez, everything that's going on. I think we could all use some of that, right? Then on top of that, I'm throwing in my 25 full-page, full-color guide to the Pica protocol, which you can use as a companion for the course, and an extra practical perfect presentation handout course. I feel like someone might have asked, do you send the same document out? Do you present the same document that you send out afterwards? The answer is no. I create 2 different documents when I present, one for live and one for emailing as a handout. Now you might be thinking, wait. I have to create a whole other document? That sounds like way too much work. And I totally get it. And the way that I've structured that process, you're going to find that it actually saves you time the more you use it. And it's going to be a game changer in how people remember what you said and take action if they weren't there. That process is one of the most popular methods that I've created. It is a very, very killer bonus. So next, oh, there we go. Next, we are down. So now adding in the prescription ebook and the mini course, we're up to 34, almost 3,500. All right, so let me see. Now, I want to know what all of that is worth. You know, the value of this is close. You know, I've bundled it together so that I can make it accessible for practitioners as much as possible. Normally, your investment today would be $497, but because I am doing this in conjunction with Black Friday, and this is the only time of the year that I discount this course, I'm giving you an additional 35% off just for Black Friday, which takes it down to $327. You will never be able to buy this entire bundle for this low of a price ever again, because the price goes up every single year after this sale. To make this even easier, because I know how tight money is right now, believe me, I get it. And I want to make this feel accessible for you and like a really good value. So you have a couple options. You have a one-time option for $327. Remember, these are for one license. These are not to be shared, okay? I also have a monthly option available for $65 a month. If 6 monthly installments feels, you know, more achievable for you, I want you to have that option because I care about you being able to get this information. I do also offer enterprise packages, and for that, you'll need to contact me directly, which you can do on the contact page of my website. So you have a couple of options right now, and you might be thinking, you know, I really wish I could invest in myself, but, you know, I have to get approval from my manager, or I have to get HR to pay for it. I have to ask my spouse. I have to ask my dog. He's really a hard case. Just kidding. So I've thought of that because I've had to sometimes pay out of pocket for training or convince my department to approve it. So let me help you with my customizable How to Convince Your Boss letter, which I have waiting for you on the offer page. If you go visit that link now, you'll see it about halfway down the page. And because I want to give you every tool possible for making this happen for you. And it's not coming with any risk. If you go through the course and you show me the results within 30 days of enrolling, but you're not satisfied, it just not meet your expectations, I will gladly give you a refund. I am so sure that that won't happen. I am willing to pay you completely back for your investment. So I want you to feel like there is not a risk being taken here. And because you stuck around to the end, I told you there would be something special. I'm offering a special webinar attendee only bonus. If you want 30 minutes with me to check in on how the course material is going for you, on how to work on specific cases that you have, challenges that you have, charts that you're having trouble with, or how to do that, I am going to gift you a 30-minute private check-in call, which is normally hundreds of dollars. And now here is the fine print. There always is. This is a rare opportunity to get laser targeted course coaching because I have very few coaching slots available. So only the first 10 people on this webinar who sign up will get access to that call with me. because I want to make that even feel like more of a no-brainer. So this is everything that you get today for an investment of $327, which for many of us will replenish the next time a paycheck comes around. But you can see it's almost a $4,000 value. So I encourage you to go follow that link and check it out. If you have questions, I invite you to email me at leah@leahpica.com. That is my personal email address if you have any questions or concerns. And now I'd like to go to the chat and see what's going on. So please be sure to visit that link. And if you don't see the link, just let me know. It's leahpica.com/bootcamp. So Eric says, love it. Robert says, Slide Whisperer sounds better than Slide Ninja. I like that. Slide Master is taken. Robin needs to focus on preparation. Highly recommended. Let's see, there's 10 great apps for killer presentations. Thanks, Sean. Alicia says simplicity and the presentation to one general idea. The through line was a revelation, says Aditya. I love that. Lizzie says creating ideas, not slides. Thank you guys so much for putting in your learnings. I'm going to keep going to see. Thank you, Nancy. This is great inspiration. You've been such a great fan. I appreciate that. And I'm just going to scan through to see if there are any questions. Let's see. Talking about, okay, Robert asked, you're talking about Western type of reading, which is left to right. Do you think in Eastern world, people should switch those animations from right to left? Okay. That's an excellent question. I would think so, because the way that I was trained in animation is that our eyes naturally follow from left to right in a Z pattern across the slide in order to take everything in. However, if you are conditioned to follow the opposite, then yes, that is how I would do that. That's an excellent question. Ari asks, do you create multiple variations of your deck for your verbal and then the readout for, I can't talk today, for information purposes or different audience? So Ari, you were the one that asked that. That is what I said before. That is what the presentation handout mini course is going to show you. My step-by-step process for taking your live presentation slides, which should be designed for a live audience, and then repurposed into a slide doc or a handout format that has your voice in it. Doesn't take as much time as it sounds. It's designed to save you time, and it really works. Rasmus asks, would be interesting to hear what you think of infographics as vehicle for delivering lots of info in one pick. So in my professional opinion, infographics are not meant for leading a live audience through information step by step. By nature, our eyes will zoom around to take in as much information as possible in one view. And when that's happening, they're not listening to you as the live speaker. Infographics are perfect for when you send information over email and people consume it themselves. It's like a prettier dashboard in a way, but I do not recommend infographics for live presentations unless you want them to stop listening to you, and I don't think that that's what you want. Ingrid loves the story of the slides with the animation. Let's see if there are any more questions. Let's go back up. Chats, if you want to be an influence any stakeholder, this will take your reports to the next level. Thank you so much for that. And thank you, Robin. I appreciate you too. So let me be specific around the promo code. This promo code sale ends next Thursday. So this is a Black Friday to Cyber Monday week-long sale because I want to make sure that for people who have to get approvals from their departments, you will have enough time to get that approval. That's how long I'm running this sale. That's why I only do it once a year. So that promo code will be available through next Thursday. Thanks for asking. Okay, on the landing page, it's still $497, no discount. Okay, well, there should be some banners that give a code, but what I'll do is I'll put the code right here. It's 35 off. Okay, so once you go to checkout by selecting your payment plan, you should be able to enter that code in and be able to purchase. Again, if you are not able to do that and you're trying to do that right now, please either let me know in the chat. I'll be here for another minute or two, or email me and I'll drop my email address too. Oops. That is my personal email, and I'll make sure I'll take care of any checkout issues you might have. So I think that for work, what software do I use? Well, for presentation work, I use PowerPoint, and that's what I teach this course in, is PowerPoint, because I want you to learn principles in a tool that everyone has access to. And then in order to do more advanced data visualizations, I do Tableau. I use that for things that are not as easily created in PowerPoint or Excel. Okay, side question. Oh, let's see. I won't be able to answer that one. How do you deal with colorblind people? Great question, Camille. So it's important to know when you're using color to call information out in meetings that a certain percent, quite a large percent of the population, specifically male, have a form of color blindness. So there is an excellent tool, and this is just one of the many tools that I offer in my course, called Coblis. And what Coblis does is it allows you to either upload a graphic or a slide or choose a color, and it will tell you if that color isn't able to be distinguished from other colors for certain types of color blindness. There's a number of different types like deuteranopia, and I forget the others, but the one you want to be most careful of is green. That's the one that can be most problematic. So that's the main reason why when I show or emphasize data in my slides, and it's like I want to draw attention or it's something positive, I use a really standout blue with really as little green in it as possible. And I've checked that my color passes those tests. Same thing with red. You want like a really deep, rich red, not like super bright, because that's kind of harsh on the eyes as well. So you want to use that and also make sure that that can be distinguished, because a lot of times red and green can't be distinguished from each other. So you want to be mindful of that. What I really hope is that you have just a couple of new strategies and techniques just walking away right now that you can try and start creating more of an impact with your presentations. But obviously, my deeper hope is that you get the whole toolbox. You'll be amazed how many things you can do with your presentations. And all of that is leading to the hope that you are ready to become memorable, to become impactful, and to become an indispensable resource wherever this journey takes you. Always remember, viz responsibly, my friends. Namaste.